So if we head up Route 25 here, we're looking at bang a right onto Spring Hill Road at the Monroe, Connecticut town line.
Oh, man, I love driving these spooky roads at night. It's a perfect time of the year, too. The crisp fall air, the leaves falling, the hot apple...
Ray, look out!
What the heck was that?
Oh, man, that may have been Hannah Cranna.
What?
The Wicked Witch of Monroe. Hello, I'm Jeff Belanger.
And I'm Ray Auger, and welcome to episode 62 of the New England Legends podcast. If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
We want to invite all of you legendary listeners to our New England Legends live Halloween special.
Woohoo!
On October 31st, Halloween morning, we'll be live from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Time on MyFM 101.3 in Milford, Massachusetts. If you don't live close enough to hear the signal, don't worry.
That's right. You can listen to the live stream from anywhere in the world.
Anywhere.
We have a link posted right on the homepage at ournewenglandlegends.com. We're going to tell some stories, talk legends.
Yep.
We'll play a new song that Jeff and I recorded last week,
We
right?
did, yep.
And you guys can call in and share your stories with us and ask questions.
The live episode will then be available for download on November 1st, which is our usual podcast day. Make us one of your new Halloween traditions.
All right, Jeff, if Halloween isn't scary enough, that woman in the road still has my heart pounding. I thought we hit someone.
I can tell you this. We're not the first people to think we hit a pedestrian right here.
But why is this ghost located so close to the road? Very dangerous.
Completely dangerous. But if you shine your flashlight right off to the side of the street, right over there, you'll see a small boneyard called Gregory's Four Corners Burial Ground.
All right, I see it.
You see that bright white headstone closest to the road?
Yeah.
Give it a read.
It says Hannah Cranna, 1783 to 1859-60, wife of Captain Joseph Hovey, 1859 or 1860. I guess that means they didn't know when she died, right?
This is the final resting place of Hannah Cranna, the Wicked Witch of Monroe.
Hannah was born in 1738. We don't know a lot about her childhood or formative years, but we do know she married Captain Joseph Hovey, who was likely much older than she was at the time. Joseph and Hannah lived in Cragley Hill, which is near present-day Cutler's Farm Road in Monroe. The couple never had children.
There are stories of a large rock that was located on the property that looked like it had a cloven hoofprint in the stone. Later, neighbors would use this as further evidence that Hannah was in league with the devil.
You know, it's worth noting that while Hannah was married, no one paid her much mind.
Huh.
She was just another neighbor in the town of Monroe.
Okay.
But all that changed one day when her husband Joseph goes out for a walk by himself.
Huh.
He's traveling along a trail, and he's walked there many times before. It takes him through the woods and along a rocky ledge. Something happens on this particular walk, though.
Okay, what happened?
Captain Hovey becomes disoriented. He loses his footing and falls from the ledge to his death.
Could he have had a heart attack or stroke or something like that?
I guess that's possible, but we'll never know for sure because he was alone, and no one could ask him what happened.
Okay.
They found his corpse at the bottom of the ledge. After his death, locals started turning a suspicious eye towards the widow Hannah. Some accused her of casting a spell on her husband, which caused him to fall.
Strange. So Hannah dressed in all black after her husband died, and she never remarried. And because she was a childless widow, she would have to become a ward of the town. So now her neighbors basically have to take care of her.
And that's when her witchy reputation starts to grow like a wart at the end of an old hag's nose.
Nice imagery, Ray.
Thank you.
This is where the legend and the stories begin. In one tale, locals describe a stream that runs through Hannah's property, teeming with trout, but she forbids anyone from fishing there. One local man either didn't get the memo, or he didn't care because he dropped his line in her waters and was caught.
Curses upon you and your fishing,
The old woman croaked. And the story goes that this fisherman never caught another fish again for the rest of his life.
Now, there were other stories, too, like one that her house was guarded by a legion of snakes, and her witch's familiar, a rooster named Old Boreas, only crowed at midnight.
Hannah soon earns the nickname Hannah Cranna. Not only does Cranna rhyme, but it's a Scottish term for a rocky or lofty place. Maybe that's alluding to the rocky and lofty ledge where her husband met his doom. Maybe it's alluding to that rock in her yard where the devil's cloven hoofprint still resides.
Maybe. Because Hannah is a ward of the town, her neighbors are forced to take care of her, and they don't like it one bit. Yet, they're a little afraid of her.
Okay.
Because her witchy black clothes, dead husband, and curses Some are beginning to think that she really does have dark powers.
And possibly the darkest tale I heard of Hannah using her powers for evil involves a neighbor of hers who was renowned for her baking, especially pies.
Pies. Love pies.
I do too. I'm with you, Ray. So one day, Hannah Cranna pays a visit while this neighbor has set out some pies to cool, and she asks for one, but she's given the smallest of the bunch. And this angers Hannah, who asks for a larger pie, but the neighbor refuses. So Hannah places a curse on this neighbor.
Cursed is upon you and your baking.
They say the pies never tasted as good after that.
What kind of monster curses pies?
The worst kind, Ray.
No kidding.
The worst kind. She used her dark reputation whenever she needed it, whether for free firewood, food, or help around her property, or to keep people out.
All right, this story is sounding familiar. Remember back on episode 34, we talked about Goody Cole?
Oh, right.
The Witch of Hampton, New Hampshire?
Yeah, right. Yeah, she too was a ward of her town, and no one liked her.
Right.
There seemed to be a hate-hate relationship there as well.
Now, as Hannah Cranna gets on in her years, she becomes even more dependent on the town of Monroe for her survival.
Right.
But her familiar, the rooster Old Boreas,
Right.
he's lived a long time. Too long, according to locals, which only adds to Hannah Cranna's mystique.
Well, how long do roosters live?
I looked it up.
Okay.
The average lifespan of a rooster is 5 to 8 years.
All right.
Though there's reports of some living all the way up to 15 years.
Okay.
But get this, Old Boreas has hung around for decades,
Hmm.
right up to 1859, when he suddenly dies.
It's worth noting that Boreas is the name of the Greek god of the north wind in winter. And so then Hannah Cranna takes her familiar's death as this bad omen, a harbinger of her own doom.
The spirits have called, and it won't be but a short time before I will be in the great beyond. My final wish must be carried out. I am not to be buried until after sundown, and there must be ample bearers to carry my coffin from my house to the grave. Obey my wishes if you would avoid trouble and vexation.
Hannah Cranna's final wish was that her body be carried from her house all the way to the boneyard by walking pallbearers after sundown. So, in the dark.
What a pain in the ass.
I know.
I'm starting not to like this Hannah Cranna.
So the story goes that Hannah died in the winter just after a storm. The people of Monroe had no intention of trudging through the snow in the dark for this old witch, so they load her casket on a horse-drawn sleigh. But soon after they head off toward the cemetery, the casket falls off the sled.
Ooh.
They're a little rattled, but locals pick her up and put her back on the sleigh. They start off again, but the sleigh begins to shake violently.
Wow.
Not wanting to risk fate, they carry her the rest of the way to George's four-corner burial ground. But as they reach the top of the hill by the cemetery, the casket slips from the pallbearer's hands, it slides down the icy hill, and lands itself right in the hole that had been dug for her grave.
Come on.
The grave closest to the road for all to see, and after the burial was complete, they return to her house and find it's engulfed in flames. Hannah Cranna's final curse, or so it would seem.
All right, that's a pretty cool story, but I've got some problems.
Okay, like what?
Well, when you died in New England during the winter, especially during a snow, you wouldn't have been buried, right? The ground is frozen. You would have been held in a cemetery keep until spring.
Oh, that is a good point.
Now, the other problem that I have has to do with her grave.
What's the problem?
Now, the headstone says that she was born in 1783.
Right.
But she died either 1859 or 1860.
Okay.
Which is why the hyphen is there.
Right.
Now, I'm guessing she died at some point during the winter in the first few months of 1860, maybe.
Okay.
And no one discovered the body until maybe the spring, which would explain that they're not sure what her death year is.
Right. Maybe she died in December, maybe died in January.
Right.
I get it. Well, no matter how or when she died, Hannah Cranna's story didn't end when she was laid in the ground. Even this headstone is telling. The town saw fit to put her witchy nickname on the monument, not her legal name. It's like one last insult to the Wicked Witch of Monroe.
All right, you combine that with the fact her headstone is so close to the street, it's no wonder that she's still roaming the area here.
No wonder at all. So on my fall story tour, I've been meeting a bunch of legendary listeners,
That's
Ray.
awesome.
It's been great, and I want to send a special hello to 10-year-old Finn and his family from right near Hannah Cranna's grave in Trumbull, Connecticut. They listen to us every week.
Thanks for listening, Finn and family. If you guys want to see some pictures of Hannah Cranna's grave, swing by our website at ournewenglandlegends.com and click on episode 62.
We'd like to thank Lorna Nagara for her voice acting talents this week, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember, the bazaar is closer than you think.